Hi guys, welcome back. This is my first video doing the states, so I'm pretty excited. I know in my last video I said that I wanted to do them in order. Well, I just couldn't find anything about Alabama. I'm gonna keep looking, but I don't know if they're just uninteresting or what. So if you have any recommendations, I am begging you, please. I spent a full day yesterday just looking and I couldn't find anything. So then I moved on to Alaska and I found this girl by the name of Miranda Barbour, who was born in North Pole, Alaska. Not the North Pole, but it's a cute little town. They have like candy cane street lights and streets named after Christmas stores that are open all year round. Anyways, we have the same name and we are the same age, and she murdered somebody on my 19th birthday. So I definitely wanted to talk about her. To get a little more detail about the case, we need to really understand Miranda's past. Miranda had a cousin that she would go stay the night with quite often, her and her sister Ashley. Ashley was 3 years older than Miranda, and so Ashley was 6, Miranda was 3. They would go have sleepovers at their uncle's house and play with their cousins. That's pretty common. Unfortunately, their uncle was raping them very brutally and for a significant amount of time. Eventually, Ashley got enough courage to go and tell their mother about what was happening, and the mother was no bullshit and went straight to the police. When the uncle was arrested, they found a lot of evidence of child rape, including a book about how to rape children, what to tell the parents, what positions to use. It was absolutely disgusting. He gets 14 years in prison and gets out after 10. I just don't understand that. But he gets out of prison after 10 years and he continues to do what he was doing, looking at child pornography, continues offending, and this took a toll on Miranda. It would take a toll on anybody to have something like that happen to you by somebody so close, and then at the age of 13 or 14, just seeing them walk free. At the age of 12, Miranda joins a gang, and she starts acting out. By the age of 13, she was hooked on drugs, and her sister and her mom was having to pull her out of meth houses. She basically drops out of school. She goes to homeschooling, but instead of doing schoolwork, she was doing drugs and having sex. She was getting sexually assaulted by these gang members and ends up pregnant at the age of 16. She talks about a specific gang member that she was messing around with. His name was Forrest, and he was 25 while she was 16. She continues to run away with this Forrest guy, do gang activity, and then come home. Sometimes she'd be gone for 2 days, sometimes she would be gone for a week, but it seemed like she always came home. I don't know if it was like to check in with her mother or she just needed a place to shower, but it's not like she would be gone for months at a time. She would just leave, come back, leave, come back. And her mother she wasn't happy about this, but she wasn't exactly locking her daughter away until she has a suicide attempt and then gets locked into an institution. She gets diagnosed as bipolar and schizophrenic, and this is around the time when she starts saying that she was in a satanic cult. At the age of 19, she meets a 22-year-old from North Carolina by the name of Elytte Barbour. And her and her daughter move there. They get married. Shortly after they get married, they move to Pennsylvania. Elytte was the only child. He was raised in a very religious household, but he also identified as being satanic and being in a satanic cult. He also had schizophrenia, so I don't know, they liked each other. They had a lot in common. Me and Elytte share a birthday, which is November 11th. Elytte is a couple years older than me, though. But for his birthday in 2013, he murders somebody with Miranda. The motive's gonna stay unclear, spoiler alert, but I think it was a birthday present. If that gives you a picture of who they were as people, I think that they killed somebody for Elliott's birthday, like as a celebration. Miranda and Elytte would cut each other and drink each other's blood. So there's another little detail about them. So now I want to talk about the victim, Troy, who was 42 years old and 6'2". So he's a pretty big guy. He was also older than Miranda and older than Elytte by about 20 years. Troy was described as having just a huge heart. He was also married for 2 years and was very in love with his wife, and his wife was very in love with him. They were still kind of newlyweds. On November 12th, 2013, Troy was found face down in an alley with 20 defensive stab wounds and a strangulation mark around his lower neck with the cable laying underneath him. A woman drinking her coffee just looks out her window and sees him laying there. And he was laying in a pool of blood. There was a lot of blood, which kind of indicates that he was still somewhat alive when they placed him there because of the amount of blood that was there. His heart was still pumping and he was still actively bleeding. He didn't have his ID on him, but he did have his phone. And when the police see that phone, it's locked, which I think almost all smartphones lock now. This was 2013, so I'm not entirely sure, but it's not uncommon. But still, the police were like, darn, what are we gonna do now? Until his wife calls and reports that Troy did not come home after having dinner with his parents. So the police call her in, have her identify Troy's body, and then had her unlock his phone. When they unlock his phone, they go through his search history, which shows that Troy had a whole double life. Troy was actively on Craigslist looking for man seeking woman and ran across Miranda's ad, which said female companion in exchange for money. And there were multiple phone calls to and from this phone number that was traced back to a North Carolina number registered under Elytte Barbour. The voicemail was a female, so they were able to kind of piece it together that this was Miranda. And she was the last person to call Troy. And they were supposed to meet up at, it's a mall and it has a really long, weird name. Sasquatchana, maybe? I don't know. But it's a mall in Pennsylvania. They were supposed to meet up there, and as they're piecing it together, they're looking at CCTV footage, and they go to the mall that Troy was supposed to be at, get the CCTV footage. They can clearly see Troy get out of his car and into another car. They could not see who the driver of that car was because the CCTV footage is, it's always so bad. Oh my gosh. Like when people are like, who is this shoplifting from Walmart? And it looks like it was taken with a toaster. I don't understand that because I'm using my phone right now. You can see me. Why don't we just put that technology into security cameras? But anyways, they couldn't zoom in to see who the driver was, but they did get the license plate, and the license plate linked back to North Carolina Elytte Barbour. So, kind of getting the pieces together. With this information, they call Miranda into questioning, and Miranda was so insulted. Here is a little bit of the interrogation.
Or that you didn't do it. So I'm going to ask you right now a very basic, very simple question.
Okay.
That you need to answer either yes or no to.
Okay.
Were you involved in, or do you have any knowledge of the death of that guy, the death of Troy?
No.
We didn't just tonight decide, you know what, I want to go talk to Miranda. Something happened, and some information has come.
I understand that, but
Do you understand
my
that?
goal right now is to get back to my daughter.
Our goal is to find the person who killed him.
Yeah.
Okay? And you're the last person on his phone.
Actually, Miranda, we got to take your phone, put it in evidence, and then get a search warrant to go through.
That's not fair to me at all.
That's what we have
I
to
have
do.
the right to walk out of here with all of my belongings, which I'm going to do.
Not with your phone. We're going to take your
I'm
phone.
very offended right now.
I'm sorry.
I
You
have
understand?
I have time. I need numbers. I need my phone numbers.
You understand we have a job to do.
I did not kill that man. I've never met that man in my life before.
I hope not.
I'm a single. I just got married. You guys are coming in my life, questioning me. I'm very offended.
You understand why we're questioning you?
Do you understand why I feel the way that I feel?
No. Do you understand why
No.
we're questioning you?
I don't.
So
I never met up with
so
him.
your phone number being the last,
Yes, but I never met up with this man.
understandable, but do you think that maybe is something we need to check into?
I want to go home to my baby who is screaming her head off for me.
We're taking your phone before you
Don't
go.
touch me.
Okay.
I demand no way right now.
All right. This
Don't
is not.
touch me.
Stop.
No.
Stop.
No.
This is
I
not
want.
happening.
Stop.
Miranda. This woman is like, how dare you think that I murdered somebody just because I was the last person to see them, talk to them, and he got into my car and was never seen again. How dare you? I have a child. Like, girl, come on. She looked kind of silly there. Obviously, Miranda was at the top of the suspect list, and after the interrogation, I think that it like boosted her past number one. I think they were just like, stop looking at everybody else. I think this girl is the one. So Miranda goes to her friend's house, and they're casually sitting on the couch with Elytte, and she just blurts out, "Hey, I stabbed somebody to death." And the friend was like, "What the hell? Like, get out of my house." The friend tells her, "You need to go turn yourself in." And then Elytte starts bawling. Like, I don't know if he was scared because she was going to go turn herself in, or he was scared he was never going to see her again, or he was mad that she told her friend. I don't know what the whole crying thing was about. So December 3rd, Miranda goes to the police station and she says, "Okay, so I did meet up with him. It was self-defense. I talked to men and let them cry on my shoulder for $100. If you're going to get somebody on blacklist for $100 to talk to, just go get a therapist, a licensed therapist." But as they're driving away, he tells her to pull over, and he starts strangling her and stuck his hands down her pants. So she starts screaming, "Stop, I'm only 16. Stop, I'm only 16. but he doesn't stop. So then she just pulls a knife and stabs him. And she said that nothing happened. So she stabs him again, and then nothing happens. And here's just a part of her interrogation.
Obviously, there's something on your mind that you'd like to share with us.
Most definitely.
Would you like to tell me about that a little bit?
I arranged to meet up with him, and I pulled at the mall. I saw him. He got in my car. Everything seemed fine, and as soon as I put the car in park, everything just completely flipped upside down. I didn't know what to do. He just attacked me.
What was he doing to you?
One hand was on my throat. The other hand was touching me down there.
What I'm getting from what you're talking is basically he's being really aggressive, groping you.
Yes. And I do have 3 knives in my car. I usually carry one on me, and I just grabbed it.
What happened after you took the knife?
I stabbed him once, and it didn't do anything. And I stabbed him again, and it didn't do anything. It was still being continued. There was nothing that changed. There's just blood. Like a horror scene in my car.
She did not mention the strangulation. So the police see the holes in the story, sees that something's not right. This woman dragged, and she's about my size. Like, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm pretty little. And she was too. And this guy was 6'2", 240 pounds. And she pulled him out of the car, limp, because he's been stabbed to death, and leaves him in the alley and drives away. And then calls Elytte to clean up with her. And then that's kind of where her story stops. It's 2 + 2 isn't equaling 4 here, Miranda. So the police were like, I'm going to track down this cable. I didn't know that was a thing. Like, cables have numbers on it, I guess. So they got the cable number, track it back to the store, and could tell when it was bought. And as they're watching Elytte buy this cable, he's also buying bleach, scrub brushes, carpet cleaner. And it was before Troy got murdered. So, sounds like they had a little plan. Not self-defense. They caught Elytte in for questioning, and Elytte is just so dead set that his wife does not sleep with anybody for money. That it's all for, like, therapy purposes. And he sticks by her story so much. They question him, they send him away, and they get a search warrant for Elytte's car. They get to Elytte's car, and it's spotless. It's very clean. But they use that little cop magic thing where they can see if there's blood in the car, even if it's been cleaned up. And they find a lot of blood on the passenger seat, on the floor, under the mat, everywhere. They get the DNA sample, and it's Troy. So they go back to Elytte and start talking to Elytte. And they're driving around with Elytte. They're driving to the station with Elytte. And they're pointing, like, to the cameras around town. They're like, oh, yeah, we used this camera to see where Miranda was going. We used this one. And they're like, surprisingly, these cameras have really good pictures, and we were able to zoom in and see everybody in the car. Elytte's face drops, and his demeanor just completely changes. He's no longer all cocky and like, oh no, like they're not gonna get me, blah blah blah. And then he says, I need to talk to Detective Travis. So he talks to the detective. He asks for a cigarette, and he says, I guess this is the last cigarette of me being a free man. The cops were like, excuse me? And here is Elytte talking about the murder.
Yes, I knew she was going to meet him. Yes, I was with her. Yes, I did take part. I'm in the back seat, covered up by a blanket. And she's in the front. He gets in the car, probably around 8. So I pop up with that cord jaw found on the body. That was me.
Where do you have that cable at? Just right around his body. Around the throat.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, good. It was pretty good.
The same.
In between the headpiece and the bottom is where I tried to angle it up underneath it. I put my feet up against the back and pulled as hard as I could. She said she stabbed him in the groin. I think she said she stabbed him in the leg. The majority was to the chest. She did say she stabbed him in the neck and it like went through. And I look, I'm leaning forward and there's just blood everywhere. And she's like, oh my god, there's blood everywhere. I don't know what to do.
Something you just wanted to do and you guys decided to do and you did it together.
Yeah. Nothing more to it. If that's the answer to why as well.
So you just decided you're going to
We
kill
just
someone.
decided that we were going to kill someone. We had no reason, no anything else other than that.
Like I said, I think it was like a birthday present. I don't know. So what actually happened was Elytte and Miranda wanted to murder somebody. And they find Troy on Craigslist. Or I guess Troy found Miranda on Craigslist and it was just like the perfect victim or whatever. And Elliott's hiding under the blanket in the car. Miranda's driving and Miranda says the code word of aren't the stars beautiful tonight? And Elytte jumps up, wraps the cable around Troy's neck, starts strangling him, and Troy is kind of getting the upper hand because he's huge. Elytte and Miranda are little. So Miranda sees that Elytte is not winning this fight. So she grabs a knife and she starts stabbing him. Troy is so big and strong that he is able to open up the car door and he's trying to get out. Miranda screams, get him, he's getting out of the car. So Elytte jumps out of the car and pushes him back in the car. Eventually, Troy succumbs to his injuries and is fading in and out of consciousness. Miranda and Elytte drop Troy off in an alley and drive away. But first, they take the $150 and they go to Red Robin for Elliott's birthday. My God. Elytte and Miranda get sentenced to life in prison for the murder of Troy. And I wish I could say that the story ends here. I can't, though. Because Miranda loves the attention. Miranda calls the press and says that she has a confession to make. She says that she has killed 22 people all over America. Her sister talks to the press and she says, no, Miranda is obsessed with Dexter, which is a great show. It is. And then Miranda says, I just killed Troy because he was a pedophile and he didn't care that I was 16. He was still going to have sex with me. I don't believe that's true. I don't believe once that she said that she was 16 years old. She said that all 22 people that she killed were bad people and she was doing the world a favor by killing them. The FBI linked no more murders back to Miranda. Only the murder to Troy. Then Miranda calls up the press and says, the only reason I killed Troy is because my daughter deserved a better life and she needed to be adopted. There are other steps you could have taken, woman. If you really believed that, you would have just gave your daughter a better life. Worked harder to give your daughter a better life. If you didn't think you were capable of that, you would have called the foster care system. You wouldn't go murder an innocent man to give your daughter a better life. Again, 2 + 2 is not equaling 4, Miranda. Then Elytte goes on to insist that Miranda does not sleep with people for money. But she is possessed by a demon. Because that's better? That helps her image better? I don't know. But I think he said something like that to make her seem cooler, because they claim they're in a satanic cult, which no cult is claiming that they are members of. And somebody spoke about Satantism and said, this is a terrible representation of us. They do not represent us at all. And I personally know Satanists, and they don't kill people at all. So I think that it was some type of image that Miranda and Elytte wanted. So they said that she was possessed, and Elytte referred to her as Super Miranda when she's possessed. And it's reported that Miranda would brag about being really big and a high person up in a gang. So that's it, kind of like grabbing at different things that they said. That's where that kind of adds up to, possibly. Or they're complete liars. I think they were just like doing their own thing, and they slapped a label that sounded cool on it, but then it hurts the image of people who actually are out there practicing this type of stuff, and they're not bad people. So I don't agree with the way the media kept saying that they were like in a satanic cult, but the media just is looking for headlines. In 2014, Ashley and Miranda and Ashley's mom, Elizabeth, they go on Dr. Phil, and I couldn't find to like watch the entire episode today, but I did find clips of it on YouTube, and it was really sad. Ashley really just wanted Elizabeth to take some accountability for the way Miranda turned out, and then talked about their childhood growing up, the way Miranda would chase Ashley with knives. She would hurt small animals. She wasn't going to school. She was on drugs at a very young age. She was having sex at a very young age. She was really acting out and didn't have as much discipline as Ashley felt like Miranda needed. And it was almost like the mom ran out of options and was just like, whatever, let her do what she's gonna do. And she ended up in prison because of that. Elizabeth, I do believe Elizabeth did love her daughters. She took it very seriously when Ashley said she was being raped and that Miranda was being raped, and she went straight to the police. But I feel like she did probably check out at some point. And in 2016, Elizabeth overdosed on pills and killed herself. In 2016, Miranda and Elytte get a divorce. And in 2018, Miranda goes back to the press. Like, why is the press even entertaining her anymore? But she goes back to the press and she says, I just want to let you guys know that whole serial killer thing, that was a lie. Yeah, we figured. Thank you for confirming it. And then in 2019, she asks for a reduced sentence because of her traumatic childhood, which is very similar to the story I just did 5 days ago about Pyro Joe, where he got rid of the death sentence because of this. But Miranda did not get a reduced sentence. And I see where she's coming from, but also she does not need to be out. She is a very sick individual, and she needs to stay in an institution for the safety of the community. Just because you have a terrible childhood does not justify murder, especially a murder with no motive. Like I said, I think that they were both very sick. They both had schizophrenia. They both were very untreated. They were self-medicating, and I think that led to the murder, is they were just sick and was just sitting around, and Elytte said, hey, I've always wanted to kill somebody, and then Miranda was like, I got the best birthday surprise for you, and then they end up killing an innocent man. Those type of people do not need to be on the street. But if you have any other theory of what caused Troy to lose his life, please leave it in the comments. Let's talk about it. I try to respond to every single comment because I love talking about this type of stuff. I mean, I hate that people lose their lives, but I love true crime and I love talking about it. So thank you for watching this video with me, and I hope you guys have a great day.
Smash that subscribe button.